Welcome back on deynonmod. Today I want to propose you a video about how I realized and painted the spider zombies, and I want to remember you that this is a part of two videos because I separated this video into parts. One where I talk about the realization and painting of these models, and this one that it's related about the sculpt part of the same models, so that the videos were shorter and I can dedicate more space to both of them. And here we can see where comes the idea, and they are the spiders that comes from the set box of the 6th edition of the fantasy, and they were the spiders that were ridden by the goblins. So I decided that there was something that really could give me some interesting things. So I decided to cut the head, combine it with the zombie parts of the standard, and here combine to realize what it will be my champion. So the one that driven me to create all the other models, because I liked the idea when I realized this proxy. And the main driving to this idea it was to create an alternative to the wolf zombies, because I liked this model, but I had the old one and the new ones, or better the last ones, I didn't like too much. So I wanted to create an alternative that was to my pleasure and better suited to my army. So I taken the spiders, and cause I didn't have too many of the parts of the champion, so I decided that this with the zombie would have been the champion. So I decided to cut other heads in the way that I had different ways to be putting this model together, and to mix it with some remaining of the ghouls spruce that I had a lot of arms, a lot of heads that I wasn't utilizing, so they were there. So I decided to make a combination of all these ones to realize something that it was an experiment, but I liked really a lot, and it was a perfect fit with the gold champion together. So I started to prepare the bases, combining the models that I modified with some cork, as I done in a video about the bases that you can find in the description. And my idea it was to prepare the model and then making it combined with the suited, or at least what I thought it was suited as basis. This because I had a lot of ideas about how to modify these models after I've done the first two. So I decided to start to try and so on, and in this way I tried different combinations, and I know after I done everything that it would have been better to have started to put the stuff together to the places in some parts of the models before, but simply I was really focused on only the models as they were, to try to modify, to try different combinations and so on. So I tried really a lot of things, going to cut, for example, parts of the models, recombine it based on the part of the cork that I put it, so that it was a good combination together. I really made a sort of mess, but I was having a lot of fun. Here you can see the combination that I realized, so really quite a lot of different things, trying to make that the environment created by the cork itself was good also in a sort of unit site, so that everything could have worked together quite good. You don't have to make such things, so you can really put some little idea about and make the realization. But I liked when I started to see everything, to put everything together. I really had this idea, and I had to realize, because I had to create what I had in mind. And sometimes it's a bit of okay, you start and you realize the mistakes that you create when you finished, because I know that I made some mistake. I know that I could have done something a bit different to make it even better, but simply I wanted to realize something and I was completely focused on it. So you don't have to mind it, go with the flow. And after having prepared the models, I went to use the green stuff to correct the mistake, make the adjustments because there were a bit of holes and so on to adjust. And about this, I created a specific video that you can find in the description about this, so that this video would not have been, as I said at the beginning, too long. Simply you can go to see that one, and now we can start to see instead about the painting and other things related to these spiders. And so now you can see the models after I finished the conversion with the green stuffs. And as you can see on the back, I wrote the word deynonmod because I liked the idea to personalize even more such ones. And when the units was perfect on the field, I was able to recreate my logo. Okay, it's something that I liked as idea when I had, because there were 10 and I had 9 letters in deynonmod and there is the space, so perfect 10. I realized when I was preparing the models themselves, and so I decided to go and sculpt to make a better detail about the backs themselves. But remember, these are something that you can even go to personalize. Something that you have to remember is that you need little details to make the model perfect. You don't need simply to make bigger to better. Sometimes small details are something that you really like. And then I chosen the primer, and I chosen a black primer, the one of the Vallejo, because I needed to create a lot of contrast based on my idea about that painting. Then I taken the Stonewall Grey of the Vallejo, the ground color one, because I needed to create a different painting for the rock and the part of the zombie and the model itself. So I started to paint it with a dye brush, the rock itself, and you have to take your time, simply do it, because it's something that you don't have to use too much color and not too less, because you need to have the line as result. Moreover, on a cork, that it's really quite good to represent the stone itself. And remember that you need to do it simply step by step, because you have to take your time not to mess with the color on the part of the model, because otherwise you have to correct afterward. And after I painted the part of the rock, I started to paint also the side of the base, because I like that all the base, all the army is on the same theme, and I decided to use this color as theme to utilize. And then I taken the Rakota Flash to realize a dye brush on the part of the model of the zombie, and the part that it was not the rock, because I needed that it was a similar gray, so that I was able to distinguish the two grays after blending together, but in a way having different results on the model, because I wanted something that it was quite mimetic but at the same time quite different. And doing this using quite similar colors but in way different ones let you having different approaches and different grades, so it's almost the same but at the same time distinguish quite a lot. So eventually try to make such experiments using also other colors and so on, and you gain quite a lot of interesting things. And then I used the Agax shield to make the blending, so combining all the model, because simply I put the Agax shield as much as I wanted. Here it's up to you decide how much to put. I suggest you not to exaggerate, because otherwise you cover everything and you kill the difference of colors that you created with using two different grays. But Definitely, it's something that I really appreciate because it let me have quite a lot of nice different in colors. Then I wanted to add some colors but not so bright, and I decided to use the bloody red of the Vallejo, the game color. And seeing the results, I didn't appreciate it a lot. Anyway, I wanted to try, so I used a single model to try on, so that I was able to see the effect on the model directly. You have to experiment sometimes about the colors, so don't be too crazy about having to have at the perfect. Eventually you can correct coming back using again the black and so the prime and so on, and see if it suits you. It didn't suit me, so I decided to change and make another experiment. Then I tried the second one using the Antares thread, the scale 75 of the Vallejo. And here I realized what I needed, because the color was perfect to make a light but not too much bright. So I decided to try and painting with this the letter of the model, because I wanted to try if it was good to use on the inner parts. And sincerely I liked a lot the effect that was on this. So I decided to implement this, improve this using and add to other parts. And so I studied the model and I decided to paint the internal part of the legs. You can think it as blood and so on, but simply I wanted to add a bit of color, a bit of changing of this part. And then I started also to paint the part of the back, and this it was to alternate the red to the gray, so that it had a lot more color, because it was a dark red, so it was really good to make it that it gained a bit of color but it doesn't result too much, and I really liked the effect that I gained using such steps. Then I taken back the bloody red, and for this I decided to go to refining the part of the legs, because I wanted to keep a bit of color more like a sort of shining armor. Remember the video about painting red? So it was a sort of to make a bit of light on the edge of the legs, because they were similar quite one to a sort of razor blades. So it was a little gaming about playing with the colors. Anyway, I decided to come back to the Racker Flash to make two things. One, correct some eventually errors in the painting of the red, and another part to make some highlights on the model, because I wanted to use the same grade that it was at the base of the model itself to make it that it was making a bit of highlight of itself. And I liked the final effect because it was a really good way to make the result being coherent to itself. I take the bleached bone to make some refining about some parts, for example the teeth, for example some knees, and so on about the models, because I needed to make some parts more evident, and I wanted to use the same scale of I can say gray and white that I was utilizing. So I decided to put these efforts, because I needed that bit that it was the one that it was making again a bit of highlight but not too much, so it was really quite blending on all the model. And I taken again the Agas F-shade to make a bit of shadowing, going to the highlight before parts. This doing a really small amount of shadowing, because I need to make it blended with the rest of the model, but not exaggerating, and the final effect I think that it's really quite amazing. And then I used the setting protective so that it was not too bright and not too dark. I used this one because I wanted to make that the color were fixed, and I didn't risk to ruin them making some movement and so on, because I loved the colors. And the advantage of using such tonality is that it preserves the color as you used, so I suggest you to try. And then I had to texture the base, so I used the snow or the Vallejo, and here you can see the two different size of the boxes that you can use. And this I like a lot because it gives me a lot of different ways to put it. For example, I painted the ethereal with a combination, but this one is something that gives me a lot of texture as I like for the terrain, so a little brittle, but really quite interesting one that I can paint on. Then I taken again the Agas Earthshade because I wanted to cover the snow that I used before with it, and I really love such effect that I gain from such combination. It's a combination that I really like and I use quite often on my models. Obviously it's not something that you must do, it's my choose to do, because the final effect that I gain it's something that I really like. So because this I thought that it was perfect suited on such models. Eventually remember that you can use a mix of snowy and shadowing more times. It's up to you decide when you are satisfied with. So use these steps as a referring, not as a I must do that because it has to be done. So it's my way to do the basis for these models. And then it's time for the last details, so I pick up bones from the spruce of the ghost, the same that I've seen the arms and the heads on such spider zombies, and I put them on the basis of some models. For example, this one that had the head that seems like it's making and chewing meat from the bones. So it's up to you decide where and when and how much use how to construct your basis. But simple adding such simple details can add quite a lot of theme to the army. So I think that the models can be really quite evaluated using such little tricks. And lastly, I added a bit of blood to the base on the parts of the bones in this case, because I needed to make a mess based on the parts that I was using. Are little tricks, but they really amplify a lot your environmental add-in, so it's really quite interesting. For the blood I also realized a video that you can find in the description. Really simple tricks, but the effect that it is at the end, it's quite amazing. So you can see something that you can call even kitbashing, because it's something that you mix together from different parts and so on, but the final result is something that it's quite amazing and totally different from the starting point. So think and try. Anyway, from deynonmod it's everything. I invite you to put a like on this video, to subscribe to the channel, to ring the bell, and to comment this video if you are interested in something about this video or you want to suggest me some arguments for other videos. I hope to see you again to the next time.